The President of CII, Shobana Kamineni.
Good morning, sir. I, along with my colleagues at CII, watched your budget speech yesterday, and as it unfolded, I was holding my breath waiting for you to give loan waivers or more subsidies, and it was quite brilliant that you refrained from that, as many have done in a last budget of almost an election year, a last full budget. And what you did instead was, I think, trying to teach people how to fish rather than giving them fish. So, and that was in itself, when you took the agriculture, so we really compliment you for that you took the most distressed sectors you spoke about. We understand the agricultural distress because a lot of us, our livelihoods are also tied in some form or shape, as India is, with 64% of the population there. And from that, you actually took it into the two worst areas. One is the crop distress and the other one is healthcare for them. These are the two single reasons that really, make their lives and their living so much harder. So this ease of living came from that. Great compliments on that. And also, you refrain from giving these big bang infrastructure ideas because there's so much in our kitty that we still have to do. When you spoke about Bharatmala, Sagarmala, and so much in terms of education. So industry really appreciates that. Just before, as a pre-budget, I was asked by the press, so what's your bet on corporate tax with this? So I said, industry are not betting people. We're risk takers, but we don't place bets. But we were all hoping that this 25% will happen. So it depends on which side of the table I'm sitting, that you did do a lot for the 99% of, and especially CII members, large amount of CII members. But I'm not sure how this room is feeling. So that's one. But the real question is, I think that Make in India is very important to India. And then the headwinds of the world, which is growing at this pace, including the US, they do have competitive corporate tax rates. We need to open up more in terms of our export. Have we done enough in this budget to address the tailwinds which are there for India to be a part of the world? That's my question.
Well, I think to take the clue from your last 2 points, first the corporate tax rates. In fact, I had first mooted this idea that corporate tax rate should be 25%. And this is no concession of favor to industry that I was showing, but the idea really was that Indian businesses must have an investable surplus so that they are able to invest more and create more jobs. Also, international investors look at tax rates when they choose a destination for investment itself. And today, world over, the corporate tax rates are gradually coming down, and therefore India has to be competitive. Now, I had put a caveat that this would be along with the exemptions being phased out. Now, exemptions in India, and this is a hard reality, all have a sunset clause. And if I start withdrawing those exemptions, I probably would be guilty of a retrospective action because people have set up industry on the basis of those exemptions, knowing fully well that for 5 years or 10 years the exemption is going to continue, and therefore to revoke it in advance may not be a fair proposition. So as the sunset date approaches, I think the exemptions will see the end of the day. And therefore it will be possible for me to implement this in a greater measure. But to walk the talk itself, I took the first step last year by saying everybody up to a 50 crore turnover. This year I said everybody up to 250 crore turnover. And the figure 250 crore was chosen because that's the new medium scale industry limit. And now you have 7,000 companies above the 250 crore limit left, which are still in the 30% bracket. But we've done a back of the envelope calculation. These 7,000 companies which are above the 25% bracket use those exemptions and actually pay only 22%. And therefore, they are probably happier off in the present regime than they would be if the exemptions were phased out and they had to pay 25%. Their effective rate would move up by 2 or 3% itself. But that's inevitable, which is bound to happen.
Great answer, but I thought you'd say that we create the most jobs also.
No, that's all right, but these 7,000 are not really so directly impacted because their effective rate of taxation using those exemptions at the moment is 22%. Now, as far as making industry competitive is concerned, I think in order for exports, the areas of focus, which are our areas of core competence, and our areas of cost effectiveness, I think this is now for the instincts of the Indian industry to pick up those areas itself. Fortunately, the curve as far as the exports is concerned, with the world economy was down, which has now in the last 5-6 months started picking up once again. And this year we hope to end the year with some 14-15% growth in exports once again. So once a revival in the exports itself takes place, that itself is going to be a considerable positive for India.